Okay, today I want to give you guys analytical tools. No, not critical race theory. We're going to give you analytical tools to analyze the second wave coronavirus data that is coming out. If you even get to see the show, because I said coronavirus, and we all know the censorship is alive and well on the social media sites, and it's coming out more and more strongly every single day. Now there's lobbyists apparently in like Facebook that want people to monitor even the private groups in every group to report on. It's absolutely scary. Welcome to How to Build a Tent, the podcast on how to make you successful. My name is Matt Williams. Thank you for listening, sharing the show. And also for the meme game, guys. Wow. Yesterday, you guys made some burqa mask, the Marxist burqa and the mask memes. Fantastic. I just got to give you guys a high five. Phenomenal. Wonderful. I love it. I hope this sticks. The Marxist burqas. Wow. I'm just so impressed with you guys. Well done. Well done. We're part of the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Go over to flfnetwork.com. Put in HGBT in the memo field. You'll get a mug like you can see behind me, like the mug I'm drinking from right now. And you'll get tons of other benefits. And you get a discount. I believe you still get a discount on our conference coming up October 1st through 3rd, Nashville, Tennessee. I hope to see you there. I'd love to meet you. And for all you crazies out there, just remember, we are Second Amendment advocates. Just saying. Just saying. All right. So I, by trade, like originally skilled, learned, what I was as a data analyst. And specifically with early on in my consulting career, I was a data analyst, and I was doing a lot of consulting around data analysis and things like that. And it is very applicable to cases like this, but statistics, polling, things like that. You want to understand a few things about the data you're working with. Is one, how accurate it is. You want to understand what data is being presented, where it comes from, what are the different sources of the data. Is it free? Is it a text field? Is it something that is required? Like, the confidence of the data being entered is crucial. Data entry is a mindless job if you do it, but it is a very important job. The accuracy of the data is very important. And so there's a few things I want us to consider and I want to share with you to help you. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm just telling you how to better analyze and think through some of the numbers, some of the noise that is coming your way, where you can discern and decipher with the wisdom God has given you on how to act, how to operate your business, how to think about starting new ventures, how to act with yourselves, your family, and public, how you should act with your churches. Okay. Now, the first thing I want to lead off with is actually someone's comment on what I put on Parler with this, is where can we find accurate data? And I was tempted to just say, just go to the CDC. But here's the problem, guys, is medically, it is custom, it is tradition that even if you have, died from something else, but you had coronavirus, it's still considered a coronavirus death. Apparently, that's just how they do things, which for our purposes is not very helpful when we're trying to determine if the virus is extremely deadly or not. When you are considered a coronavirus death, even though you didn't necessarily die from it, it was a complex group of things. Maybe you were having heart surgery, you had coronavirus, but you died during surgery, you still are getting labeled as such. With the cases, I've heard that people are being diagnosed with it, even if they haven't been tested positive, but a tracer has traced you back to someone who has. They've considered you positive. So how the data is categorized and considered a positive test, how it is considered a positive death, I am still not confident in any of the numbers. But with that said, I think that even with the cases being in question and the deaths being in question, they're consistently being in question. So I think the numbers aren't as important to me as the trends, because I don't believe they're counting things differently from day to day. I believe they're counting things all the same way. I hope that makes sense. So although the numbers are not reliable in my mind yet from a data perspective, the trends are very important to identify. And I think we can have some level of confidence in the trends themselves. So that's my first comment to it. And the second thing that I wanted us to think about is when you hear, and this is really important, guys, and this is true for any kind of statistic and any kind of number or percentage that you hear from the media about politics, about finances, about your company reporting, any of those things, this is what you need to remember. To get a better perspective and a better context of what information you are hearing and processing and how you should think about it, when somebody provides you a number, for example, there was 100 new coronavirus cases today. When someone gives you a number like 100 new cases, you want to think, well, what percentage is of that of people tested? What percentage is of that compared to other illnesses? What is the rate of increase? You want to think in percentages. So when people give you a number like 100 new cases in the county, in the state, in the city, in your home, could you imagine a home with 100 people? You want to think percentages because that's going to give you context to what that 100 number means. Because if it's 100 new cases of a city of 200, well, wow, that's kind of a big deal. But if it's 100 new cases in LA, that's 2 million people, that's probably something that's not even worth the news. So if you're reporting that on the news, you have to ask yourselves, is there an agenda or is there really nothing else in the news worth reporting right now? So you want to look at the percentages when you're given a number, and vice versa. You want to look for the numbers when you are given a percentage. And this is what happens. I notice this a lot with media or with anyone who's trying to be slick. They're trying to slide one past you, is that they'll use whichever one. They'll go back and forth depending on what fits their narrative the best. So you, being wise, being intelligent, needs to discern and look at both angles. So when they give you one, you give them the other one. So when someone says to you, there was 100% increase in cases for testing positive for coronavirus. 100 new cases. Oh my, 100% increase. 100%. That's a crisis. We should shut everything down. We should wear the Marxist burqas. But what if there was one and now there's two? Well, that's 100% increase. So the numbers really gives it. But if it was like 1 million and now there's 2 million, well, that's kind of a big deal. But 1 to 2, I mean, okay, that's really not statistically relevant. And so when you get the percentages, you also want to get the numbers. That will give you context. And context is so important. We have to understand what the numbers mean. We have to understand what the percentages mean. And we need to see both of those to make informed decisions for our businesses, for our investments, for ourselves, for our families, guys. It's really absolutely important. The third tip. So the first one was the confidence of the data. The second was knowing the numbers and the percentages and the numbers. The third thing, and this goes to the second wave narrative that we are seeing. Now, my friend, Drew, I'm not going to say his last name. He's on Facebook. He's been kicked off a few times from Facebook. He is hilarious, fantastic guy, Christian, faithful, and, does a lot of great work, I'll just leave it there because I don't know how much I should say about it, but he had one of the memes saying that there is an increase in coronavirus cases because there's so much more testing is like passing out a lot more IQ tests to people and saying we have a huge case of more dumb people. That's so true. See, what's happening, guys, is we're testing more and more people. We're testing more and more people. So what logically has to happen? We're going to find more cases of coronavirus. And that's, from what I've seen from reports from reliable sources, is the exact thing that we're seeing in Texas, where they're saying there's this huge outbreak in Texas. Well, they're testing a lot of people. We have an outbreak of tests. We have an outbreak of tests through our country, more than anywhere else in the world, from what I understand. We have an outbreak of tests. So what's going to happen? What's going to happen with that is we're going to have more cases. And again, this goes back to the context. You have to understand the numbers. You have to understand the percentages. It matters. It's important. And so when you see that there's more cases being reported, do not be alarmed, because that is not enough data to tell us anything, because we're testing more and more people. We're testing different kinds of tests. We're testing in better ways. We're learning how to test more accurately. And in fact, it's going back to the data validity or the data accuracy or the fidelity of the data. What was I hearing? That even if you had the common flu or another strain of the coronavirus, not COVID-19, but a COVID-18 or COVID-17, that those antibodies for the flu or the other COVIDs could show up as a positive for the COVID-19. So another point of data that we need to be questioning, but besides that, that's not even the point, just something to think about, is when we have more tests, we're going to have more positive cases. We're going to have more positive results. The only way, there's two. The only two ways that we can be positive that a second wave is actually happening based on the cases we're getting from coronavirus is if the amount of testing we've done remains constant. That means every day we test the same amount of randomly sampled people, 1,000. That we've tested 1,000 in February every day, and we tested 1,000 every day in March, every day in April, every day in the subsequent months, all the way until June and July when we're hearing this. If then we get more positives, then we could possibly say there is a second wave happening. But we don't. We have more and more cases. So obviously the numbers are going to go up. So this is where it would be helpful for us to see the percentages. The percentages of those tested, how many are positive. That could be more useful. That could be more useful than just relying on the number and saying, there's 100,000 new cases a day. Well, we also tested 1 million more tests than we did the day before. Well, that's kind of significant, guys. And then also, another way we can think about this is if the percentage of increases of cases is greater than the percentage of increase of tests. So are there more cases being reported than tests that are being added? What is more? If we are having more case positives, like yesterday was 3 and today is 4, but yesterday we tested 100 people and today we tested 1,000. Well, it only went up by 1 case, but we exponentially tested more people. And so in that case, we would have the opposite of a wave, a drought. We would have a drought. So the numbers can be manipulated, and they are. The numbers can be messed with, and they will be. And so you have to have these tools to understand how to analyze this data. And I fear that we are being tricked. We're being played for nefarious reasons, and it's causing us to do stupid things. Like stop opening up our churches. Like not having our businesses open. Like wearing masks that the doctors don't even agree on work in any sense, in any medical sense. And we're being manipulated. We're being conditioned by false data. We need to be wise. We need to be discerning. We need to educate ourselves on this. This isn't difficult. You can understand it. You don't need a master's degree. You don't need a business degree to understand how to read these data points. It's not that difficult. Let's go out, be successful. We'll talk to you tomorrow.